The Warworld Revolution is here, and the quest to overthrow Mongul's tyrannical rule is underway. But can Superman convince the war-torn combatants of this hellish nightmare planet that kindness can best cruelty? Philip Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics continues with its badass fantasy-esque telling, as we get to learn the origin and the backstory of the creepy little baby character known as Orphan. Now, right off the bat, PKJ has wonderfully managed to create intrigue and fascinating lore when it comes to his Warworld saga. And not only does the writer make this story and everything around it vast and filled with rich backstory, he's also connecting it with already established DC lore, such as the origin of the orphan, the baby being essentially a byproduct of the events of No Justice, back when the source world broke, which, fun fact, was only a few months ago before this current story, continuity-wise, meaning that within this 2 to 3 month span of time, a lot of shit has happened in the DC universe. And that's just crazy to think about. And not only is it just nice to know from a continuity standpoint, but it also makes No Justice that much more important. I'm not saying it's like Flashpoint or Crisis of Infinite Earth's important, but it's nice seeing that writers are using what other writers have previously established. And like building blocks, they're making additions to the era of that story. And I gotta admit, that's something that DC of late had not been doing well. It seems that DC right now, a lot of the writers aren't building the universe off each other's other work. It's like they're all trying to do their own thing. And so for me, from a fan's view, it's awesome to see that PKJ, is playing along with what's already happened, which is how a cohesive universe should be. Also, when it comes to Light Ray, her death not only highlighted the dangers and the power of Mongul, and not only did it affect characters like Omak, but it seems that her death is going to be yet another obstacle for our heroes to face. And thanks to Mongul being true to his word for Omak, though through a certain point of view, by resurrecting Light Ray, it's not so much that you're bringing back the real Light Ray, but instead, he's bringing her back as some powerful monster than her actual true self. It seems like Johnson is making good on his past story beats he's previously set up. Now it's all coming together brilliantly. And when it comes to the book's art, much like the previous issues, Riccardo Federici continues to make this book look bad-ass. Again, Warworld has a gross, very lifeless style to it, where the barren wastes and even the planet's interior tunnels, they seem drained and very Mad Maxy. The art adds this theme of war, along with a sense of just pure exhaust, which really resonates with the book's story. It's very fitting, and at the same time, Federici makes Warworld appear gritty and horrifying. A lot of Lovecraftian inspirations to be had here. Overall, Action Comics issue 1044 was definitely an issue that continued the rising epic that Philip Kennedy Johnson started way back in spring of 2021, and a lot of the creative pieces that the creative team have introduced are now beginning to fall into place. And so I'm so down to see what the overall puzzle looks like when it all comes together. Action Comics issue 1044 gets a sexy 9 out of 10. Our story starts things off after Superman and his rebellion breach the Teacher's Citadel in order to free Manchester Black, along with destroying the Darling. And so from there, the good guys manage to capture the Teacher as their prisoner, along with capturing Mongul's most valuable asset, the Orphan. Now, upon returning back to the Rebel base, Superman and Manchester Black, they try to communicate with the Orphan because Kal-El wants to know about the Orphan's origin and the source of its power. Thus, through a series of flashbacks from the catatonic Orphan's memory, it's revealed that its parents were Valerian scientists who were studying the Source Wall back when it was breached during the events of Justice League No Justice. And with the Source Wall getting breached, every living being on the Valerian ship was obliterated. However, weeks after the breach, Mongul and the Teacher discover the ruins of the ship, finding out that the family's techno-familiar Darling, an adaptive synthetic pet that was programmed to serve and protect its masters, sort of like the Geth from Mass Effect, had assimilated the mother's corpse to save the fetus by forming an artificial womb around it, and the power released by the Source Wall's destruction preserved it, thus giving the Orphan great power from the Source, which in turn, because of this, made it valuable to the Teacher, whose ambition used the secrets harvested from the Orphan in order to build an answer to the mighty Mother Boxes. Now, Superman asks the Orphan about the Orphan Box, which they were able to steal from the Teacher. However, that's when the Orphan finally awakens from its slumber, and in freaky Stephen King fashion, the Orphan explains that the boxes just don't teleport, rather they are fueled by Genesis, and that the Orphan Boxes themselves, they transcend life, death, space, and entropy that gives time direction and the meaning of transcending infinite paths in order to find the inevitable truth at the center of everything. And with that mouthful of detail, Superman comes to it for help, and the orphan agrees to help the rebels in saving the Enchantress, only if they reunite it with Darling. However, it makes it clear that it has to harness the power of Genesis, for which they need the help of someone who's far away from Earth. And it's within that moment where Natasha realizes that the orphan is talking about her uncle, John Henry Iron, aka Steel, who Superman entrusted the Genesis fragment on Earth within his care. Also the same piece that Steel's been experimenting on in his little hideout that we've seen in previous issues. Elsewhere, Asla Ra and Ofo Ra begin to idolize Superman as they sneak into his tent to see the Man of Steel's belongings. And while they flip through his journal, which by the way they can't read, and before they come across some weirdly shaped object, that's when Kal-El walks in on them. But he is not the least bit mad of their innocent trespassing. Instead, he teaches them that the objects are Kandorian puzzle boxes, called Kotori, which used to be traditional children toys on Krypton. And since Clark made one for Jonathan from Earth's Wood to help him feel connected to both his human and Kryptonian heritage, Superman also felt obligated to craft 2 more toys for the Felosian children, a gift to help them feel connected to their ancestors. And with that, Krillix Ux lets Superman know that it's time to go. And so from there, Kal-El promises the 2 kids that he'll be back soon, and hopefully with another one of his friends. Picking up with Mongul and his people, we see Omak overseeing the resurrection of Light Ray. However, the Blood Priests and the Alchemists are unable to reanimate the dead without guidance from the teacher, along with power with the orphan. And so this definitely infuriates Mongul, who crushes one of the Alchemist's skull with his bare hands. Now, while the rest of them fear for their life, a few manage to inform Mongul that since Light Ray has already been dead for a while now, her essence is faint. And because of that, they propose that Mongul prays to the mother for a flesh soul to unmake. But this suggestion makes Omak irritated, reminding Mongul that she was promised the resurrection of the real Light Ray, and not some diet version that's mixed with one of Warworld's unmade freaks. However, Omak's disrespect demands the wrath of Mongul, who blasts her with his unibeam, to which he reminds her that he is Mongul, and he's not someone who's bound by word or deed, because Mongul does whatever the fuck he wants, and Omak should be grateful that she and Light Ray will be chosen to join the ranks of the Unmade, as opposed to being food to be fed to by the mother. Meanwhile, the orphan teleports Superman and his rebellion to the mother's lair, where they find the Enchantress at an exalted place among the mother's babes. Basically, it looks pretty gross. But just when Kal-El tries to free June, who's drained of her blood and is barely alive, that's when the mother awakens, bringing upon her horde of reanimated corpses that begin to swarm the rebellion. But that's until the orphan obliterates the undead with an energy blast, and thus with the mother attacking Superman, the Man of Steel violently fights back against this vampiric sorceress, letting her know that she won't have June because she's his friend, and he is not leaving without her. And so basically, if the mother has a problem with that, she can take it up with whoever brought the undead sorceress to Warworld. And so with Superman freeing the orphan, it teleports the mother away. Elsewhere, Mongul sits atop his throne before his fortress is invaded by the mother, whose wrath knows no bound, as she comes before Mongul, claiming that she lends him her strength and he had cursed those who stood in his way of his throne. However, it seems that the only thing that she is being repaid with is the invasion of her lair by thieves and murderers. Thus, that is why she is here. Basically, she's holding Mongul accountable for not sticking up to his end of the bargain, since he promised her that all the souls she'd claim would be hers forever. But that's when Mongul shuts her up as he throws a spear to the mother's throat. And it's here where Mongul tells her that she was useful once, but that time has passed. Thereby, he decapitates the mother, before ordering his servants to fetch the Blood Priest so that the mother can be used one last time. And picking up with the Blood Priest praying to Mongul, it's here where they offer the corpse of Light Ray, along with the flesh and the soul of the slain mother. And from there, the freaky alchemists begin to fuse the 2 corpses together, forming a new being called Black Razor. And while Omak is in a stage of horror, the mystical hooded scavenger remarks to Mongul that they are entering the final moves, and seemingly the game that they are playing is favoring them now, because with being faced by this new weapon, Superman will have no choice but to claim the fire of Ulgrin. Thus, only then will all their plans come to fruition. And that, folks, was the end of Action Comics, issue number 1044. And thank you guys for checking out my video, as it truly means the world to me. And as always, I'm your majestic sayer over at SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to the channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so you'll never miss out on an upload, and so you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. Now tell me, what are your thoughts and opinions on this issue? Are you guys excited for issue number 1045? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace.